Hey, thanks for coming back to the channel. This week, as I have them both at hand, I thought it'd be interesting to take a look at the SKB iSeries cases and compare them and talk about my experience with them over the years compared to the classic Pelican cases that they're inspired by. I'll start this out by saying this isn't a good versus bad discussion. These are both usable cases, they're both very good cases, and if you choose the correct size and features for your specific purpose and the job at hand, I think you'll be happy either way you go. I've used, carried, and traveled regularly with cases from both manufacturers, and I've always been confident that they were doing the job I needed them to do. So here we're looking at two similar but not identical cases. In yellow, the Pelican 1560, which has been my personal travel case for a number of years now. I originally purchased it to carry my mobile recording rig, and in recent years I've been using it mostly for when I travel in trucks where my gear or my luggage needs to ride in the back of the truck with a bunch of other gear and be protected. It's yellow because when I went to buy it, the yellow ones were actually on sale. They were a good bit cheaper than the black ones at the time. That's not always the case. And being yellow, it's a lot easier to spot in the back of a truck. When you've been on the road all day and you're stopping for the night and you want to grab your case out of the back, rolling up the back door of the truck and being able to easily spot my one yellow case in the sea of black Pelican cases used by other production companies and rental houses, it's a nice feature I didn't expect. In black, we have the SKB MC24 microphone case. While this is set up with foam cutouts for the microphones, it's a very similar case in style to my 1560. It's actually a bigger case. It's mostly bigger in the depth, being able to stand up a 8-inch microphone in there in the cutout. But they're similar enough that we can compare the two. Let's start with price. The SKB MC24 with the foam cutout for the microphones as shown here comes in right around $175. The 1560 with just the standard foam kit, the full foam kit that you can cut, it's called Pick and Pluck foam, that comes in right around $165. On average, these cases seem to be very similar in price. By the time you factor in the accessories you'll want to set up the case correctly for your use, the price difference of the case itself is generally negligible. As you can see here in my yellow case, I've added the top organizer with the mesh pockets, and that's about a $100 upgrade. And you can get those for the SKB iSeries or the Pelican cases, and all of the accessories, different padded dividers and top lid organizers, generally all about the same price. It's pretty much a wash cost-wise which one you go with, and you can generally find similar accessories for both manufacturers' case sizes and different models. Both Pelican and SKB report that they meet MIL C4150J mil spec specifications for durability and usability in the field, so that gives us a really good baseline. Both of these cases meet the same specifications for how rugged they are and how they handle various drop tests and things of that nature. So that's a really good baseline for us to look and compare one to the other. Both cases feature similar wheels, carry handles, pull handles, and latch design, but there are some differences that are kind of important. The Pelican carry handles feature a thick padded rubber material where your fingers actually meet the handle. In real-world experiences traveling with these cases, one time I was running through the streets of New York trying to get to Penn Station to catch the last train out of the city at night. You will eventually find yourself in a situation where you've got maybe more gear in the case than you expected. It's a little heavier, and you're in a rush to get somewhere to catch a train or something like that, and rolling the case just isn't practical time-wise, or there's stairs involved. There's always stairs, and you're going to want to be able to pick this case up and move with it quickly, and that extra bit of padding in the handles is something I've really enjoyed compared to SKB's handle, which is larger, which can have its benefits. It's rubber, which is really nice. It feels great in the hand, but it's slightly less cushy. But, you know, that's just a personal preference. The pull handle is also worth mentioning. SKB's handle is more rigid, and it's made out of a harder plastic that locks in really nice and secure and doesn't have a whole lot of play in it. it, and that allows you to easily roll along with another bag sitting on top of the case like you often need to do in airports and train terminals and things like that. However, for me, being over 6 feet tall, the SKB handles are just a little bit shorter than the Pelican handles, and also the top of the handle design is a little narrower. So that ends up with me kicking with my heels the case quite often when I pull it behind me. I have to make a effort. I have to think about holding the case out to the side a little bit, and then with that narrower top handle, there isn't a side part of that handle like there is with the Pelican that you can easily hold off next to you. So I end up kind of tripping over and kicking the SKB cases a lot more than I do the Pelicans, which is a little bit frustrating, but might not be a problem for you. The Pelican's pull handle, like I said, is a little bit longer, and it's a little bit wider at top, which I do like. It's also made out of a softer and more flexible plastic, and at first this might seem a little bit counterintuitive when you pull it out and see how much play there is in that handle, between the handle and the body of the case. But then you start using it and you kind of realize pretty quickly that that handle, being so flexible there by design, acts as a rudimentary shock absorber for the case. So as you pull it along, it's not a rigid connection between your hand grip and the case wheels on the ground. So it allows the case to kind of bounce around a little more and absorb some of the bumps in the sidewalk and the cracks and prevent it from tipping side to side, getting what you call a tank slapper in the motorcycle business, but it just makes for a smoother ride. Having that play there, it's like a little shock absorber, and that's a nice feature. While the Pelican case uses the handle as that shock absorber and makes the ride a little smoother, SKB addresses that issue by using a softer inline skate type of wheel on their cases, which provides for a much smoother, much less jarring, and gloriously quieter experience when you're pulling the case behind you. Pelican makes their wheels out of material that's the same as the case body itself. It's a hard plastic, and while they seem to wear well over time, they are incredibly hard. Making it very bumpy as you go down sidewalks. Gaps in sidewalks are very, very harsh on the case, and it's just extremely loud to pull one of these cases behind you in real world situations, in airports and any sort of hard flooring. It's an extremely loud case to pull compared to an inline skate wheel style case like the SKB. Both cases' wheels are user replaceable, and I'll do a video in the future showing how easily you can swap the wheels in your Pelican case from that hard wheel over to an inline skate wheel and have it be much smoother as well. Overall, the Pelican cases feel a bit more sturdy to me. The side panels and overall feel of certain parts of the case are just a little bit thicker and more robust, which also leads them to being slightly heavier. Compared to the SKB, that's something you can choose whether or not you want the slightly, and I do mean slightly, heavier side panels at the cost of a few extra pounds in weight, compared to the SKB, which is a little more flexible, it seems, in the panels, but you definitely save a couple pounds there, which can be a real consideration when you're flying. The Pelican cases also seem to seal better in my experience. When you close them, there's an O-ring, it's a gasket, and the latches really lock home and seal, and even if you stuff the case full of more stuff than you had planned, that seal, it looks and feels very tight, and it just seems as though they would actually hold up to the 30-foot depth watertight test and being able to float in salt water with a 100-pound load. That being said, neither of those specifications are particularly relevant to me. I do take water transportation, like water taxis and ferries, somewhat often when I travel for work, but never with 100 pounds in a case that small. So otherwise, generally being watertight is fine for me, and it makes no difference whatsoever that the SKB case has a little more flex to it. Ultimately, I believe that either of these cases would, and they have for me, met the needs for traveling and for transporting equipment regularly in a professional way. They both do just fine traveling by air or train, and they're both very similar in price. So really it comes down to what fits your preferences and your style and your comfort better. Ultimately, getting the interior foam or dividers or padding sorted out to fit your gear or to fit your needs is a lot more important for the safety of your gear than the actual case. Keeping the gear from slapping around inside the case or banging into other pieces of equipment is going to make much more of a difference in keeping it protected than the name brand or the style of latches or handles. I personally own Pelican cases and choose them because they fit my needs and what I need them to do the best. But I don't think you can go wrong choosing between the Pelican and SKB iSeries cases. They both have served me well over the years, and I'm sure they'll continue to do so. As always, I'm sure somebody will point out in the comments that there are other case manufacturers out there that make alternatives to SKB and Pelican cases, and some of them are quite cheap, so be sure to check them out, but also check out the specs and check out what people are saying about them before you go out and order a cheap case. There's nothing worse than putting your gear in something and not being able to trust that it's going to protect your gear. If you're spending money on a case, you might as well buy one that's going to do the job right and last and have some guarantees behind it if something does go wrong. That's something to mention about SKB and Pelican. If you break apart on either of these cases, a latch or a handle, a wheel or anything else, they will stand behind it and they will make it right and send you replacement parts in many cases, or if it's a real big deal, you can send the case back in and they will fix or repair, replace it for you. It's important if you're buying a couple $100 case to make sure it's going to last a long time. And, you know, saving $50 or $100 for a cheaper case, but if it breaks, if something does go wrong with it, you've got to buy another one. For my money, I'd just buy the name brand, buy the one with the warranty and the guarantee behind it. And I think you'll be happier if you're going to use these professionally to have that kind of assurance that if something goes wrong, you won't be out the case or the money for the fix. That's all for now. I'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences in the comments below or over in the forum on the new website, DcSoundOp.com, linked in the description below. Thanks for watching. Be sure to follow the affiliate or Patreon links in the description below as well if you want to help me make more of these videos. Thanks again. See you next time.